Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our 6th episode of Ask the Knights. My name is Annora, and I'm going to be your host this evening with our techies behind the scenes of John, Effin, Cal. I swear to God, there's got to be a couple of animals back there with them. I don't even know who's back there anymore. I am so stinking excited tonight to be able to introduce to you to these two knights that are incredibly important and have been a huge pivotal turn in my fighting career. These are my knights. I have both Sir Waleric and Sir Leohtulf of the Silver Hills. And guys, thank you so very much for being on the show tonight. I'm actually kind of nervous because I have to behave myself and I have to be proper because I don't want to embarrass you guys. So I'm doing very, very hard to not cuss like I usually do. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you guys and let you introduce yourselves, where you're from, and how long have you been knights? We never asked that question, and we got to get better about that. Cap, we're going to go with you because you've got the precedence here.
I'm Sir Leohtulf of the Silver Hills. I've been in the SCA since 1984. I started very briefly in the Mid-Realm and then moved to the West. And my first tournament in the West was in spring of 1989. And I've been a knight for 17 years, -2 for COVID.
-2 for COVID. Weren't you doing Pell work the entire time?
Yeah, but I still don't, we don't count those 2 years.
Boss? All you.
I'm Sir Waleric von Brederick, Viscount of the West. I am currently in Meridies. We moved here in November of 2020, and I've been in the SCA since 2010. My first tournament was the 120-person tournament when Uther was king, and squired in 2011 and knighted in 2015. So I've been a knight for 7 years this year.
I don't remember that 120-person tournament.
Yeah, you were a princess. You just stepped down.
Did I?
She just stepped down. It was March of 2010. I was Prince of the Mists.
Yep.
Wow, I feel okay. Hang on, we got to all drink. Okay. So, how I actually have never learned this, I don't think, and I'm kind of embarrassed about it myself. I don't even know how you guys got started in the SCA. Boss, it's going to be you since you were the last to answer the question. I don't know how you did get started.
Actually, I was still playing football at the time for a semi-pro team, and a friend of mine told me about these people that he was part of, and they were having a pretty cool party, and asked if I wanted to go check out their practice. Told me about this weird thing, hitting people with sticks, and I was like, sure, I'll go check it out. And I went out there and I watched the practice, and I was like, you guys are crazy, flat out crazy, hitting each other like that. Had a good day, went to the party that night, had a good night, and Alexander, the horseman, Duke Sir Alexander from Caid, when he was in the West, invited me to come back the next week, and I put on armor, and that's all she wrote, pretty much.
See, I remember Duke Alexander being a part of that. So he's not the one who got you started. You're just the one who you chatted with.
Right. So my friend Aaron, my best friend Mike at the time is the one that his brother Aaron told me about it because Mike was going to go too. So me and Mike were joined at the hip for the longest time. So I went, and Alexander was the one that showed me my first shots and got me involved into the SCA. That was actually in 2002, and I was only in the SCA for about 8 months because I was still in the Marine Corps at the time. I got deployed in 2003, and so I never picked up sticks or anything like that again until late 2009. When actually it was your coronet was mine and Catriona's first event together.
I didn't scare you away, so I must have done something right.
No, when Rolf and Seth were fighting in finals.
Oh, I remember that. Okay, nope, I do remember that. All right.
I was actually taken as a man-at-arms at your step down.
I do remember that. And that's weird. So wait, and then I got squired to you at your step down then, right?
That's correct.
Oh, interesting.
At the same place in the same area in front of most of the same people.
That's funny. That's funny.
Excuse me.
All right. Cap, I never even thought about the fact that you started in the Middle Kingdom, which makes sense because that's where you lived. So you're muted. You're muted, Cap. There we go.
I have a loud barking dog. I thought mute would be good. I was in college, and actually I'd gone out to play golf. And I was walking back to my dorm, and I saw this guy it had to have been some of the ugliest armor I've ever seen. It was this black flat top helm with an eye slot about that big. And it was all riveted together. And then armor that was blue plastic plates laced on with cord onto carpet. But this guy was out there and holding a 55-gallon drum lid as a shield, and somebody was hitting him in the head, and I went, I got to get some of that.
Oh, I'm so glad we've moved on from there. Somebody in the comments is saying Moonwolf. Does that ring a bell?
Not
Moonwolf.
Moonwolf. It wasn't him.
You knew him?
I've met him. I won't say I knew him, but I met him. Actually, from the Mid-Realm, Duke Sir Talamar was really influential. The first time I saw him in full armor, I was like, that's what I want to look like.
I'll have to see this guy. All right. So what keeps you guys coming back? I mean, you've been here for so long. You've both had a lot of positions in in the society itself. What keeps you coming back over and over again and it never gets boring?
You. The people, trying to instill in the people following me the joy that I found once upon a time. I'll be honest, the SCA sometimes is work nowadays. When you're hauling a 10-foot trailer worth of stuff, that eliminates Friday and Sunday from being much of an SCA day.
Mm-hmm.
That's a setup day.
Yeah.
So sometimes the SCA is work, but you, because of your heart, how much you're striving, how much you're putting the work in. My other squires who are all putting the work in however they can, the other fighters who are out there, and my idols bring me back all the time. The Roberts, Haveks.
Yep, I can agree with that. I hope everybody gets to meet them at some point. They are pretty inspiring.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
All right, boss. You just moved to a whole new kingdom. So, I mean, you jumped right into it as soon as you got there and got settled. You didn't even skip a beat.
Not really. I took some time off for moving and everything and getting settled, but what really keeps me coming back is moving and everything and getting settled, but somebody's not on mute. What really keeps me coming back is moving and everything and getting settled, but somebody's not on mute.
That was a technical difficulty moment. That was interesting. We've never had that one before. All right, I think we're good with Waleric. Although I think we might have frozen on Waleric. I'm not 100% positive. Okay, now somebody needs to unmute Waleric. So we do have a couple. We have Cal and Effin, because Effin might have to step away from the computer. So we might be having like cross-contamination of techies. Just heads up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got Waleric. He's back.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Sorry, boss.
Annora, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. And I think everybody else
All
can, because they could say a Matrix level glitch in the chat. So I think we're good. Go ahead.
So I spent 9 years in the military, and the brotherhood and camaraderie there I hadn't been able to find anywhere else. When I found the SCA and how welcoming everybody was, that was huge. Being able to be comfortable around people was a big deal for me. So that was the beginning reason. But as far as I've come in my journey, the reason why that I keep coming back is I've found that I never wanted to take a squire. I thought I'd never find anybody that had the drive that I did. And man, I tell you what, 3 weeks after I was knighted, I had a squire. So teaching people like you and pretty much everybody that I teach, not just my squires, anybody that's willing to learn, that has, the inquisitive nature and wants to get better, and that I can help. That's what I like to do. I really like to teach people. I love the fight. I think it's great.
Oh, sure.
No, it's all right.
Who was your squire after you've been knighted? Oh,
You forgot your older brother?
Josh? Not
Nope,
Brody.
Brody. Yep.
Get
Brody.
out! Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I missed that bastard. So okay,
Actually,
that was my curiosity. I apologize.
He and I started talking at the coronet, the second coronet that I won, and I took him as my squire in October at my war, the Snogwin Miss War.
Oh, okay.
So, but
Got
Brody,
it.
and for some reason, I attract military people and like-minded people. Brody and Addie has a pretty good grasp on things. All my squires, for the most part, have played sports of some kind. Addie was in water polo. Jake or Ragnar was in hockey and MMA. Brynhild played soccer. And Godwin, he played some football too when he was a little tiny guy, but he still played. Brody, he was military, and I mean hardcore military. So we just spoke the same language.
Yeah, you guys did.
I found that it's weird that I can actually talk to everyone and they all understand me, and I don't know how that works, but that's pretty much my people that I teach. I've found some people out here that, hey, can I help you with this and show you this? It might help you. Even a gentleman last week, I was in a tournament last weekend, and I faced a squire, red belt in his name's Gato, awesome little fighter from Chimeras, recently moved up here, and he's been taught some of the Western ways. So he threw that step out, roll over, try to hit me in the face shot. And since I couldn't see his body when he blocked my vision with his shield, I changed him. I said, the reason why that didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Later on, we met in the finals, and he killed me with that shot. So
that's good teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Sunwolf says, it's like a mom listing your sports because you know all of our backgrounds, you know how we were all different in what we all do. And somebody else was like, somebody says, having squires is a lot like having kids, and frequently unruly kids. And that's exactly how I think we all think of you guys as our knights. Is sometimes I know there are so many times where I'll be goofing off and I'll look over and I'll see Cap looking at me across the field. I'm like, knock it off. We have to stop that. And then there's Waleric, where it's like we're roughhousing constantly. So it's I think that's one of my favorite parts about it is the connection there. What was your personal philosophy or the path on training that you took before you were knighted. And I know that's a little complicated, so I apologize. Boss, I think we're going to go with you since you were the last up. But it's personal philosophy and path on your training before you were knighted. So I guess like what you worked on to get knighted on the pathway. I think that's what a lot of us struggle with.
When I actually started working with Connor, he was teaching me, and I was going to his house, once a week, once every couple of weeks, and I started getting better slowly. And a lot of people aren't going to like this answer, but I hate to lose. My whole life it's been drilled into me. I hate to lose. So I was going.
He really does.
4, 5, 6 rounds in Cornet, and then losing to the 2 people that went to finals. And I went to Connor and I said, dude, I hate losing. Let's train more. So actually, we were still playing softball together at that time. We could play softball so we could train more. And during that, the first part was because I hate to lose, but during that was more like, wow, I just want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to emulate Connor. I want to be Connor. And I told him, he says, learn from everybody, pick a fight, pick something out of the fight, blah, blah, blah. Man, I watched every single video I could find of Connor. And I went out in my garage and I practiced the shots and the movements that I could see on the video. And I was trying them in practice and I was trying them in tournaments and they weren't working. So I went to him and I said, bro, I got a problem. He says, okay, what's up? I said, well, I've learned all of your stuff. I've paid attention to everything you do. I can do every shot that you can. I can throw every shot. I can do every movement. I can change my body. I do it all just like you. And those were the bad words because he told me that's the problem. And then he called me Patrocles. And he said, and I called him a dick, forgive my language. But he said, Patrocles, you fights just like Achilles, right? Every single thing, just like Achilles, moved like him, throw shots like him, and he died faster. And I said, yeah, that's a good point. So he explained it to me there was I needed to change all of that stuff from his 6'3" giant Hulk body to my 5'9", 220 pounds. It's a different, and the dynamics are different for my body than it is. And I try to teach my kids that too. It's your body. You take what I teach you and you have to make it your fight. And that was, I think that was the catalyst there too, that changed everything. It was another one of my plateaus where I was stuck. It's weird listening to that guy and, he's always right. He said, what am I, your shell answer man? I said, yep, you know everything. So
kind of happens when you're a Duke several times. I mean,
right. Dude,
what about you, Cap? And unmute yourself.
For me, it was my philosophy was I wanted to be the best that I could be at being me. My night came from a kind of a cookie cutter line where a lot of the fighters all fought the same type of armor, the same type of shield, the same basic stuff with some differences for each person. One was stronger, one was faster, one was prettier, and I broke that mold. I have picked up a half round exactly twice in my life, once just to put it in his car. And once I tried it at practice and my leg hurt, so I made it go away. But my philosophy was fight everybody and fight up as often as I could. Neither of you were probably really around in the heyday of mission practice.
I remember it though. I was there as it ended.
But that was my practice that I went to constantly. And often there were like 3 or 4 of us, me, Jeffrey, Scott, all of us standing in line to fight Jade as the lights went out.
Yep. I remember that was the biggest practice in the West too. That was a big name one.
Mission was a great practice because it was like the best swimming pools. It got deeper rather than just having a shallow end and a deep end. You could kind of go, okay, I want to go fight my level. Now I want to go train with somebody who maybe is not quite as good. Now I want to just go get my butt kicked. And you could always find somebody that could do those things. First time I ever fought Connor was there. The first time I ever fought Jade, I think, was there. And it was a great training ground, or a great proving ground. I didn't train there much. I practiced there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to fight the best guys I could and learn everything I could from them. And then go back to my night and go, okay, this part hurts and this part hurts and this part hurts. How do we fix that?
Yeah. No, and I agree, Your Royal Highness. Mission was such an amazing practice, and I wish I'd gotten the opportunity to fight there as heavy. I only went for rapier. That was the most amazing practice, and I wish we could get those back again. I think we're trying with like the road shows, but I don't know if we're ever going to meet that again. So this one's really cool, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this one. I know both of your routines when it comes to getting ready to go into a tournament, or at least like proceeding in. Can you explain, Cap, what yours is? I love yours. I've actually kind of adopted it myself.
You're talking about cross the line, aren't you?
Cross the line.
So when I'm in a tournament, a long time ago, Duke Arton from the Outlands was talking to me about a guy by the name of Nolan Ryan. And some people out there are probably still old enough to remember him. Nolan Ryan was one of the nicest guys ever until he stepped on the field the first time to pitch. And the moment he stepped across the baseline, he was out there to strike you out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all there was to it. And if you ever watched him, he would walk up to the baseline and stop and look at the baseline, and then very deliberately step over it, and you could watch his demeanor change. And so that's what I do. My SCA motto is actually cross the line, because it's a reminder that in a tournament, I'm out there to kill you, not to fight you.
And your demeanor does change. Your walk changes. Everything about you does change when you step over the Eric line, or the field line for those non-Westies who use a different term for the field.
And especially my first round at a tournament, I don't go through the openings. I go under or over the ropes.
Yep.
Because it's a physical barrier for me to step over, to move past, to cross that line. And now it's all business. Now it's just get the work done.
Yeah. Boss, what about you? I know I've seen you with headphones on before.
That goes back to my football days.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like a pump-up thing. That's evolved. I played football for almost 30 years, so that evolved over time. So when I get put on my armor, I have my headphones on. I'm listening to specific music that I like, that I want to hear. And a knight said to me one time, hey, be careful doing that. Get you pumped up, and then at some point that pump up is going to crash down. And it was hard for me to explain to him at that time, because I was stupider as a squire and I didn't know how to articulate what I was saying, but I figured out that the music isn't a pump up thing. It's a focus. Makes me focus on the task at hand. So the minute that I'm done with that, I'm still cordial and talking to everybody and doing whatever, but going out on the field, it's kind of like cross the line thing too. When I'm doing my salutes, I'll salute the king and queen. I salute my wife. Make sure she knows. I look at her smiling face, wait for her to blow me a kiss, and then I finish my salute and I stand up. That's the first time that I turn around and look at the other fighter.
Yep.
All the rest of the time, I'll be looking at the herald or anything else.
When
I salute that fighter, that's where the line is crossed. That's it's the thing with Connor, him and I again, in the training. To get past the big dog fear or peer fear, whatever he was telling me. And I guess this is why I really don't scare much, because, you know, that's a big dude hitting me really hard. He says to me,
well,
when you go out on that field, and this came from my dad back in when I was 10, 11 years old also, you need to be the best you that you can be on that field. Don't worry about anything else. Something bad happens, shake it off, cuss about it for a second, and then go on. Don't think about it anymore. It doesn't matter who that guy is. For instance, you know, he said Foob. He called that guy, whoever it was, Foob. He's just a Foob. Doesn't matter if it's Uther or Jade or Connor or, you know, the lowliest, brand new unbelt that has their first, you know, hasn't been fighting a whole lot. He's the lowest in the OP. Comes out there and selects you. It doesn't matter who it is. When that time comes, it's all business. And that's pretty much how I am. And I stay like that throughout the entire tournament till either I lose or I win.
Yeah, it's always really interesting to talk to you guys during a tournament because of how your demeanor is. Like I said, you guys have the tournament mentality, and it's really hard sometimes to know, like, are you angry? No, you're just in the zone and you're focused. I'm watching the comments right now and trying so hard to not be distracting and laughing because of everybody talking shit. Like, just everybody just being smartasses. And then there's fucking Cupcake. There's Sir Cupcake himself, who we were just talking about, because apparently you've moved, Sir Duncan. So, and then there's Robert of Woodsend saying youngsters. Robert of Woodsend is just, he's been mentioned quite often tonight. So this next question, the guys actually threw this in, and I'm actually quite nervous to ask. What do you look for in a squire? Because I know there's probably a lot of people in the comments who are still wondering how to go about finding a knight. Everybody has their own philosophies, but what do you guys look for in knights, and why did you honestly pick me? And I'm trying really hard not to be embarrassed by that question. There we
go. What do we look for in squires, you mean?
Yeah, like what was something that you look for your squires and all those who you've had, and also, you know, why did I fit that mold?
So my hugest thing, I spoke about it earlier, was drive, because I am a driven individual. Watching a person and seeing the drive in their eyes and what they do on the field, that's the biggest thing for me, because I can teach you everything else. I just can't teach you to be driven. I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink. You know what I mean? You don't want to do it. You ain't going to do it. So that's, you know, compatibility is a big thing too. It's a family thing. Me and Catriona, it's a big deal between us. And then all the rest of my squires have to be able to get along with that person and feel secure with that person. So it's not just, the first thing is the drive, but everything else from there goes to the compatibility with not just me, but everybody else in my household, you know, and even my knight, my grand knight, you know, that's the thing. And, you know, you and I, we talked, I was still an unbelt when you and I got you in armor. That was the day that I knew you just wanted to go. And I was still unbelt at that time. All you wanted to do was fight. You told me nobody ever, you know, backed you and helped you and, you know, supported you. And I was like, you know what? Let's do this. If you want to do it that bad, if you want to go, let's go. And then, you know, we built you armor and we got you on the field, and you took some bruises, and your armor has changed over the years to fix that. And you don't take as many bruises anymore. Better. So
those midnight drives,
really.
Those drives from working until 5 and then driving 2 to 3 hours to get to your house, working on armor until about midnight, driving home, getting to work, you know, getting home at 3 a.m., going to work at 8. Oh my, I don't miss that, but that was a cool time. But oh my God, I swear I aged like 20 years in that moment because that was so exhausting. Jesus Christ.
I'm sure you did.
What about you, Cap? I mean, I'm the most outspoken and spastic of your kids.
Sorry.
You are the noisy one. So what I look for is less the drive and more the desire, which is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of my squires are people who want to do this. Some of them haven't been able to in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are regulars at practice, and some of them haven't been able to, but they all want to. And they all want to be better. And they all want to be the best fighting version of themselves that they can be. Why you? Because I speak cowgirl.
He's right. He's very right.
One of the first times I ever actually talked to you while you were in armor, you and Waleric were working on something, and you were having some trouble parsing it, and I asked if it was okay if I tried a different dialect, and I told you to throw a rap like you were throwing a rope at a calf, and he told me that you didn't need to hit as hard after that. So, and then to be honest, you picked me when Waleric left. You came and asked me if I would look out for you because we speak the same language.
You got me to do that year-long Pell during COVID. I mean, you constantly challenged me where it's like, I'll be there. Oh, crap, challenge has been set. Okay, let's do that.
The whole, for those people who don't know, during COVID, I hosted an afternoon Pell session, and that all started as a game of chicken with Veers and I.
Yep.
Somebody said, "Oh, you should try half an hour a day."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Veers, I can do a half hour if you do.
Yep. It was honestly, that was the thing that got me through COVID, honestly. And it was so neat to meet all of those people from out of kingdom and from, I mean, across the world. We still talk with Ian from Lockhack all the time. So it's so cool that you got us started in that. It was a really fundamental turning point in mine.
Over the course of that first year, we had people at different times from 16 different kingdoms.
Yes, we did. That was fucking cool. Great way to meet people. This is a multilingual. Yes. He's very, and that's the thing is like, he knows how to talk to one of his squires who's an engineer. And then he also can talk to me as cowgirl, and that's a great part about it. And then Waleric can talk to me when I'm incredibly pissed off and there's tears pouring down my face, and he doesn't even bulk. He doesn't react to it. He just continues to talk to me like I'm not crying. And I've always really appreciated you both about that. You just treat me like I'm normal. I appreciate that the hell too. Absolutely. I don't think I've ever seen this, but what was your first armor? Like what was
Ooh. My very first armor that was my own was somebody sold a set of black leather with rings tied onto it that I put some metal plates under, and I fought in that for 5 years. I had a James Greyhelm munitions grade bassinet with the world's ugliest leather aventail on it. And this would have been, I stopped wearing this long before. I know you do, Jay.
I would like, these need to be posted to the Ask the Knights group, please.
Yeah, and I had a set of North Star legs. Wow. And they were just regular plate legs. And that was my first kit, and I wore that from probably 1988 until about 1994. And I wore the helmet until Duke Fabian helped me make a nice Spangen. So.
Wow. And Boss, you were an armorer. You're kind of an armorer. And I only say kind of just because I don't want people to think that you're Laurel just yet, but you make a lot of armor. Were you making your own armor back then?
Actually, I did make a lot of my own stuff. My very first armor, I made almost all of it. The stuff that I owned, the only thing I bought, I think, was the helmet.
Yep.
But I didn't know what to use. So I actually I picked up some leather from somewhere, and I cut it into these skirt-shaped pieces, and I put 5-gallon bucket pieces underneath it to go around my legs to protect my
Yeah.
crease area. And then I had catcher's knees under these leather Roman style greaves. And then my upper body, I was wearing my ski vest, and yeah, it was so huge. They told me I looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. That was my first tournament. I wore that in the Kingdom tournament that I told you about. I was wearing that. I was a big old bulky, in my ski vest. The gorget I built out of some leather and some plastic that I had. I know some aluminum pieces that I had, and I bought the helmet. That was my first armor, and it didn't stay around for very long because I got hit a lot. Connor's got pictures of bruises that he left across my backside that I didn't like very much. That was 12 years ago, so I only had that for about 6 months, and then I got over to Connor's, and him and I were working on the next stuff, and then I started buying some stuff here and there, and I learned a little bit from Dave, I learned a little bit from Connor, and then I got with Nikolaj, who was he's an armoring Laurel, and he was teaching me quite a few things. I made a pair of knees for a friend of mine before I met Nikolaj, just to get him on the field, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I went out in my backyard and had a stump, and I dug a hole in the stump.
I remember that. Yeah.
I took these pieces of metal and I stuck them in there, and I used my ball peen hammer, and I peened it all out so it would so they could be used, knees and elbows, full set, right? So I give them to him and he wears them, right? So then I meet Mikolaj down the road, probably a year later, and him and I were building my current knees that I have right now. He was telling me some stuff and showing me some things, so I was helping him out. So we built it together, really, and I'm like, okay, that's good. It looks good to me. And he says to me, nothing's going out of my shop that looks anything less than perfect. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Didn't really think much about it till I ran into that fighter a year and a half later. And I asked him, you still got the armor? You want to fight again? So yeah. So I said, well, bring me the armor and let me take a look at it. So he brings me these knees and elbows, and they had pock marks from the ball peen hammer all over, sticking out of the elbows and knees. And I said, give me those. Don't tell nobody I made them. So I took them back and I fixed them completely, cleaned them all up, and gave them back to him. I said, don't tell nobody that I made those crappy knees till they were fixed. I didn't know what I was doing then, but after learning some stuff,
yep,
that was huge. So
must have been nice though to see the progression.
Yeah, I make most of my stuff now. My helmet I bought from Acer. My second helmet I got from Seth, it belonged to Uther and has the titanium chain on it. That's why I got it. My war helm.
Titanium chain.
But everything else, I'm actually currently in the middle of building another set that's going to be like Duke Hansa's, the leather pants and the hidden legs and stuff like that.
Going very German.
More pretty, yeah. Von Brederick.
That's
Fabian,
fair. That's totally
Fabian
fair.
Arnett von Schweitzigen, Connor Weisson. Here I am, the German, late period German, and here are all of my squires who are either freaking Viking or English or Welsh or something that's not German that I can build.
You know what? I married the German, and I still butcher his name when I'm trying to introduce him during invocation. So I call him Heimlich. I don't know how many times, but he's Heinrich.
Heinrich von Benedict.
It's Heinrich Sinister, and I almost did it again. I almost said Heimlich. Sorry. So, and actually, I meant to say this earlier. We have surpassed the 30-minute mark, and we have moved into the audience questions, and that was one of them. The next one is, yeah, you do. That's mine. Kelly Wild is mine. Hi, honey. Somebody asked this specifically to you, boss, but I'm curious also on the one that you were also, Cap. You're wearing 2 chains, boss. What do they mean?
So this chain right here, it was not the chain that I was knighted with. It's got, if anybody can see, has a bunch of different links on it. Connor and I had talked about, after I got knighted, building a chain that I could swap out links with people that have knights that have had a significant impact on my fighting career and helped me get to the point that I'm at. And so that's why I have this chain on. I wear this almost all the time. It'll probably I'll never give it away because this means so much to me.
Sure.
And then this one here is this big, bulky, I got from a gentleman named Gus out when I was at Great Western this year. He's a fantastic guy, and all he does is knights chains like this. He does them for anybody, not just knights, but it's one of his things that he does to make money because he can't really work, and he has eye cancer. So
that's one of Lash's guys.
That's correct. I saw him wearing this, and I was like, "Dang, dude, I need that chain." Blah blah blah. And I was talking and joking about it, and he comes over and he puts it on my neck, and I was like, "Dude, let me pay you for this or something." So no way, it's a gift. Blah blah blah. So I went back into my tent, grabbed another one of my chains, and I put it around his neck. It's
nice.
It's a different. It's different in different kingdoms where squires wear chains and unbelts wear chains also. It's not like that in the West, but it was a chain that was given to me by another knight on the field that I gave to him. He gave me this big heavy thing. I'm like, man, this thing's so heavy, I can't even stand up straight. I was talking crap the whole time at the war wearing it. But that's the reason why I wear this. I've got like 5 or 6 other chains that I have. The first 2 people that get knighted will get the chains, the very first chain that I had made for myself, that is the only one of its kind and will never be made again by that person because he hated doing it. And then the one that I was actually knighted with will go to one of my other squires. And then whatever chain, except for this one, I'll give to whatever squires. That's a thing in our household.
I know I saw Ragnar out there, dude. It's a race, man. It's a race.
Right. So, and the thing with that is, in our household and in our lineage, the knights, the person that's the knight of the squire that, you're under my protection. You don't carry a sword until you're knighted. And I present you with that sword through the king's hands to you. So I have swords already bought for all of my squires. When that day comes, they will get that sword. Same thing. If they want anything else except for my knighting belt, and that's it. So my knighting belt is the only thing I won't give away. I'll give away my spurs, which I happen to get from Leohtulf. Awesome dude.
Oh.
Yep. Leohtulf gave me those spurs, and I will give away my knight's chain, but I will never give away my belt because it's one of the only belts that's cut from the same hide that my knight and my grand knight wear. Also, my nephew knight Seth and my squire brother Cormac. I think Achilles might have one, but I'm not sure. I didn't ask Connor that.
Gotcha.
But I think there's only one belt left in that hide, so it really is a race for you and Jake.
God.
So.
No pressure. Cap, that is your pelican, man. That is your pelican.
This one's my pelican.
Mm-hmm.
So this one here was a gift. For years, my best friend has been Richard de Canville.
Mm-hmm.
And one night I was up at his place, and his lady at the time, Viscountess Elizabeth, came in and she said, "Look what I found at Marshall's." And she had 2 matching chains. This one is silver. And, well, this one's pot metal that looks silver. And the one that she gave him was brass plated, but they're identical otherwise. And so this is the one I will never give away.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's, my best friend has its mate. This one is my pelican. I just bought a chain for it. You can't really see this one.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
This one's a little controversial. Some people don't like it. Other people do. The knight's chain is meant to remind us that we are bound to a promise.
Mm-hmm.
This chain reminds me that I'm bound in promise to the crown. This chain reminds me that I am bound to protect those who are less able to protect themselves. Specifically, this chain is specifically for people of color, to remind myself that I don't have to face a lot of the things that people of color have had to face, both in and out of the SCA. So this is my reminder that those people deserve at least as much protection as anyone else.
Gotcha.
And I'm not saying well, but that's what it's meant.
Yeah, it's the Dragonheart oath of his might upholds his valor. I'm going blank on it right now. It's one of my favorite oaths, and I'm butchering it absolutely.
Knight of the Road, yes. As a matter of fact, I often recite that before I put this one on.
I like that. Okay. So, and I think you also have quite a few chains as well. So you have ones that you can switch out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And I have in mind for you also.
Are you and Heinrich working together to get that hope chest? He has started a hope chest for me, and I'm like, I won't even look at it because I feel like I'm jinxing myself. But
nope. I got a different one in mind for you that's not currently in my possession, right, Jay?
Oh, okay.
But
that's not terrifying.
Yeah,
that's fair. So we have another question here, and I'm waiting for my tech guys to tell me which one it technically is. They're both amazing. They're both really, really awesome ones. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and pick since I'm not. Okay, it's going to be me. Hang on, let me send it to him. That's the one. Thank you, John. Oops, that's not the question. Sorry, this is technical difficulties. And go. Okay, so I hate to ask this. Have either of you dealt with significant injuries fighting in the SCA? And if so, did you have any mental blocks that needed to be dealt with when you got back in armor? This is from Mirmir and out here in the West, Hjalmir. So he got hurt recently, and I think he's been having a kind of problem getting back.
A couple of injuries. I jacked the hell out of my hand a few years back. And it was my sword hand, and that made me a little leery to throw with full power for a while. Probably the worst was when I had, and it was only a torn meniscus, but the mental block was not trusting my leg to support me. And about 80% of my fight relies on my platform, which is how my feet are placed, how my balance is, and not trusting that leg made it a little difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as some people know, about a little over a year ago, I got to go to the hospital and was diagnosed with a blood clot in my lung.
Mm-hmm.
And that really made, to this day, I have not set foot on a war field, and I'm still very leery of being on a war field where I don't see them coming.
Right.
But I'm off the anticoagulants, so I'm back in armor. I'm just still a little leery of getting into a war scrum until I get something covering my body armor or covering my chest.
No, it makes sense. Makes total sense, which is why I've been trying to figure out what to get you, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Boss, what about you? I don't remember any to date. I think generally you just take a break and kind of slog through it.
I haven't had really any significant injuries while fighting. There's only two that I can think of, and I had them during training actually. Connor was teaching me how to throw this backhand shot on his Pell, and this is the very reason why I don't throw hard shots on Pells anymore. We pirouette up on our tiptoes to throw this shot over top of the shield, rolling our hand, and so he shows me, and he hits the crap out of this Pell in his backyard, and so I'm working on it. I go real slow, and I'm doing it. He goes, okay, now do it, full power. I said, all right, and I went, whoop, and missed the top of the Pell and twisted my wrist. and that jacked me up for
My
about
elbow's
6
hurting
months.
for you.
Sorry. So my wrist was messed up. It wasn't really a psychological thing. I've dealt with injuries all my life playing sports. So the are you injured or are you hurt thing? Can you still fight? Well, I could still fight. I wasn't 100%, but I could still fight. And then the second one, which was still bothers me to this day, after I won Coronet my first time as an unbelt, Connor wanted to fight in Crown and win, hopefully, to reign with me, which was pretty cool. We got to reign together as Knight and Squire, King and Prince. So we were over practicing at his house, and offside body shot that a lot of you people have seen us all throw. It's a family thing. I'm on my knees blocking, and this is one of the only times that I've been in armor at Connor's house. Most times it's always out of armor training, but there was like 5 of us there that night, and he's throwing a shot. And I'm blocking it. And finally, I didn't turn my sword out. It hit me right here across the arm. And man, it hurt. But, it always hurts when you get hit in a spot like that. Like 2 weeks later, I was like, man, my arm still hurts. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me, I said, well, here's the problem, and this is the issue. And I told him where the issue was. And he goes, oh, you got tennis elbow. And I'm like, I don't think so. I've been doing this my whole life, never had tennis elbow, and I've never played tennis in my entire life. So he says, put this thing on and wear it for 8 weeks and you'll be good. I'm like, all right, cool. 8 weeks every single day. I slept with that thing on sometimes. My arm still hurt. So Kathy and I went and saw the chiropractor, and he, knows what we do, and he cracks me up, and he says to me, you have any other problems that you want to, talk about? And so I told him about my arm. And I said, the doctor told me this, but it's still hurting. Now it's 10 weeks later, right? And he said, okay, well, let me feel it. And he starts feeling around on my arm. He goes, yeah, your bone's out of place. And I was like, what? So he popped my bone back into place, whichever bone it was, popped it, and I slept with no pain for the first time in 10 weeks that night.
Makes sense.
And I had been fighting the entire time, trying to keep doing the same stuff that I do, and still didn't have any really psychological blocks because, I've been doing this my whole life. Not like it's and I'm not belittling anybody else in the way that they deal with stuff. It's just I've been playing sports since I was 5, so I've dealt with a lot of this stuff. I'm almost 50 now. So every time now I go out and fight, I'll do my thing and this, that, and the other, and I'm perfectly fine. But I'll be sitting at home, and all of a sudden, my arm hurts through the elbow, right through the joint of the elbow, and it just radiates pain. I can't straighten my arm anymore. Connor turned me into him because he can't straighten his right arm either. So yeah, I've dealt with health problems, but not really any psychological stuff. But I also haven't had any lower body issues, like not being able to do my movements or anything like that. I've twisted an ankle here and there, but nothing bad.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't even realize what time it was. We've been talking for 55 minutes, and I thought we've only hit like maybe the 40-minute mark. So we're gonna close this out with one of my all-time favorite ending questions, which is funny because you guys are both on my team. What has the SCA done to get you prepared for the zombie apocalypse?
Wow, that's cool. All the stuff that I've
one of my
learned how to
favorites.
build, all the things that I've learned how to build, pretty much. I can sew clothes now. I'm not very good at it, but I can do it. I can build armor, but I'm also a carpenter. I can build shelters. I'm building a house right now. I learned how to weld from Connor. Connor got me into the millwrights that taught me how to weld. So now I can work with metal, bending and shaping and forming and, building, learning how to do all that stuff has got me. Plus it doesn't hurt that I have like 12 swords in the house. Not to mention whatever other weapons we have, but that's just a given.
That's true.
Yeah, pretty much. SCAers will rule the world if that happens because we know how to survive. SCAers and then hardcore military that have been through things like that. Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much mine. That's my end all, really.
That's your plan of survival.
I got 360 field of view from the roof of my house. I'm building a fence around my property, so We'll see. I'm pretty good shot.
What about you, Cap?
Much like Waleric, all the things I know how to build or how to make.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I really, for a long time, for whatever reason, my armoring focus was on gorgets. So when the vampire apocalypse happened, we are good.
Good to know.
But also, it's shown me a lot of great places. Like, I don't know if you've ever been to Robert Woodson's house. That's where I'm going.
I mean,
you know, I've learned a lot of great places to go that are very defensible.
that's true. No, I would hate to see Robert's place get demolished in the apocalypse. God, that's such a
We will all be there defending it because it's a good defensible place for us.
That's a very good point. That is a super good point. And,
you know, depending on like the site for West Ontario, that's not a bad site as long as we can keep the backstop covered. You know, we've learned a lot of good places to go just in case of a zombie apocalypse.
see, and nobody's mentioned that through this entire show. I mean, any of these shows, they've never mentioned all the locations we've gone to. That's a good, valid point.
And, you know, if you want some very amusing end of the world meets the SCA, go read Dies the Fire.
Dies the fire, like DIES?
Uh-huh. It's kind of post-apocalyptic, and it was written by somebody who I absolutely know has associations with the SCA. They even mentioned the Principality of the Mists and a couple of people from the SCA. And I think the bad guy is modeled after an Ontaran fighter.
Well, that's going. I have that up now, so I know I'm going to go look at it. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm going to go look at it. Great. Thank you both so very much for being willing to come on here and to be asked a whole bunch of questions. I really super appreciated you. And also, it was just, I really wanted to introduce you two to the world that I've now become ingrained in outside of the West. So I got to show you off to everybody. Everybody already actually happens to know you guys. So now I get to say, haha, these are mine. So thank you both so very, very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Annora, in front of the entire world, I'm the one who is truly honored that you asked me to step in when Waleric had to move. I was absolutely honored and flattered that you would want me to do that because you are one of the best human beings I know.
I gotta agree. You're pretty awesome. She just doesn't see it in herself, and that's the problem. She needs to get out of her own way.
So just very briefly, if I could take 2 minutes. Some people have heard me call Annora Veers tonight, and there's a reason for that. For those who don't know me, I have a little bit of an investment into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the character of Carol Danvers, who throughout the vast majority of her movie as Captain Marvel was referred to as Veers by the people that had trained her. And she was Veers until she realized who she was and what she was capable of. And when you realize what you're capable of, you will not be Veers anymore. Then you'll be Marvel.
So that's how I'll know that I've taken that next step is when you call me Marvel.
You got it.
Oh God.
Mine's really easy compared to that. I don't have that moniker for her. I call her Killer because standing on the warfield, watching her annihilate people with that pike, just absolute. I mean, she took probably 30 people while me and Heinrich were just dying left and right, watching her just murder people. So I started calling her Killer because that's what she does when she's on the warfield with that pike.
She's so much better on a warfield than I am.
Oh, me too, dude. I stopped using anything but daggone daggers because of her.
This is true.
I only carry 2 daggers in wars now.
I have to go running behind him.
I'm just kidding. I'd have fun out there with the daggers. I like watching all my people kill and have fun out there.
Yeah. And And Alfred, you are absolutely correct. The joy in her fight is what absolutely makes the whole thing for me.
The way she laughs.
This was not supposed to turn into a cry session, goddammit.
Yeah. The way she laughs when she does something good or bad, she laughs and cuts at herself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And making you cry was absolutely our plan from the beginning, wasn't it, Waleric?
Yes, sir. Without a doubt.
Bastards.
Well, we got more
All right, now I
stories
have
to
to
tell
try
if you want.
Jesus. Let's see here. I got to do some show plugs because we do have shows coming up this week soon. Friday we have a huge holiday get together with all of the hosts of all of the shows that Cal has going. We'll bring on a bunch of people. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hootenanny because there's been a lot of chats about alcohol, so we know that that's going to be pretty crazy. I know that our next Ask the Knights is not going to be, at least at this point, until the 17th. I know we have one scheduled for that date. I'm really excited for that one as well because that's going to be my husband and his brand new Squire now Knight, who is going to be soon the Prince of Sinagua here in the West. We have the Coffee with Cal on the 8th of January. That's going to be happening. We have the Road to Retention, I believe, happening that same night on the 8th. Anybody out there in the audience, we are needing you guys to come forward with the knights, mods, squires, anything like that of people you want interviewed to come on this show. Because without you guys, we're honestly just a group of people who just get on a really fancy Zoom and record ourselves talking. So we need you guys out there in the audience to tell us about these amazing people so that we can bring them on and get to know them better, because God knows this has been an amazing way to learn about these knights so much better, about anybody in the SCA and who make it an amazing place to be. Boss Cap, thank you guys again so very much for coming on and just being the amazing inspirations that you are to all of us squires out there. It's been absolutely awesome to see you guys. So
Love you,
I know
daughter.
I fought you
Thanks for
a
having
week
me.
ago. I love you too, Dad.
Well, I'll be out there again in at Great Western, so you get to, well, maybe earlier than that, depending on what's going on. We'll see.
If
But
I'm
at
lucky,
least
I'll
at
see you
Great,
hopefully at Gulf Wars.
we will be at Gulf Wars, so
Okay.
we'll get
Now
some
there's another
stick
reason I gotta
time
go.
there.
Yeah.
So
By the way, you still owe me stick time, Waleric.
yeah,
Each other at Great Western.
yeah, we'll
That's
fix
true.
that. If you
I
happen to
wanna
make
see
Gulf
that.
Wars,
It's looking more and more likely.
Yeah.
well,
I think we're digging ourselves quite a hole, aren't we, Cap, for pickups?
I'll introduce you to quite a few people.
Down. Fucking down. Absolutely.
All
right. Well,
I'll
again,
set you up a list, little girl.
no, do that. Start. I can dig my own hole, but just start adding to it. Start wheeling it back in. Again, thank you guys, everybody, so much for everybody who hung out with us tonight and asked our questions. Have a great night, and if we don't see you on Friday, have a happy Christmas and great holidays to everybody out there, and be safe. And we'll see you guys next time. And there's my